Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Anchor Watch. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm glad to be here. A lot of things have happened here, really, in the last 3 to 4 hours, and we'll talk a little bit about all of those things. But the thrust of this week's episode is going to be not just about what's happening within the United States domestically, but we're also going to talk about what's happening abroad, specifically with the United States Navy and some of these movements that I think people need to be very aware of. I'm also going to talk about the warning signs that a lot of senior people who have been there and done that have highlighted. But first, I want to bring in the producer extraordinaire, Mr. Sam Osterhout.
Hey,
Sorry,
buddy.
Osterhout. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I, 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 I've always can say I can be better, but I've always realized I can be worse.
Well put. Well put.
There are certain things that are happening here domestically that I want to kind of bounce off of you. So
Yep.
obviously the big news today is not just the House, but now as of 15 minutes ago, the United States Senate has started their they voted and now sending the bill, this resolution, this bill to release all the Jeffrey Epstein files to President Trump's desk. Now, I don't know what people think or this, that, and the other, but I do find it peculiar that President Trump decided to change his mind over the weekend when he realized that there were enough votes that it was going to pass the House because of Marjorie Taylor Greene being part of that group of four Republicans that basically defected. Now,
Right.
Sam, I'm going to ask you this question. The Senate has passed this bill after the House has passed it. It's going to Donald Trump's desk tonight, and he is hosting the Prince of Saudi Arabia. We will definitely get into that.
We're going to talk about
But
that for sure.
my first question for you is, do you think he's going to sign the bill?
I do.
Okay.
I saw New York Times just ran a headline that said he's prepared to sign it as soon as it gets to the desk. It could happen as soon as tonight. But I'm with you, Bobby. I'm suspicious. What's going on in your mind right now?
My mind is, I think he'll sign it, but I think there are a couple of things. There are two major ways that he can wiggle out of this. Number
Mhm.
one, it's not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, that he ordered an investigation of primarily overwhelmingly Democratic names associated with Jeffrey Epstein and those files.
Sure.
By starting an active investigation, he will then be able to say, and the Department of Justice will be able to say, we cannot release these files because the matter is currently under investigation. That provides a shield. On top of that shield, the timeline of how long it takes for the investigation, solely up to the Department of Justice, right? So they can stall out for his entire term if they want to. And then the other piece of this, which kind of makes you just cringe, is what if he tries to basically withhold the files that need to be released? Meaning,
Mhm.
he says he's giving you all the files, but yet there are files over here that they're keeping off to the side. The only people that will know that will be the people who are the worker bees in the Department of Justice, which is
Right.
why, ladies and gentlemen, one of the first organizations that was gutted amongst the second administration of Donald Trump was DOJ. The
Right.
adult oversight got gutted within the first 3 months of the Trump administration because they anticipated things like this: investigations against President Trump. You replace them with lackeys who are not professionally competent, who will do whatever you say, i.e., Pam Bondi, i.e., Kash Patel, i.e., the head of FEMA who just resigned this week. And what do you get? Incompetence, but Donald Trump is protected. And so here's the thing: he may say, yeah, I'm going to sign it, but we won't know for sure unless, and here's the wild card, the few professionals left start leaking to the press. And we've already started to see this, right? If you ask me how this plays out, I think to save face, he will sign. I
Yeah.
also think he will try to have DOJ withhold information. And then we will start to see the slow and steady leaks, like the birthday letter and all these other things that have leaked already. And that will cause Congress to jump all on him. Now, if I'm the Republicans, I'm thinking you need to rip the band-aid off. If you have a slow leak of a scandal like this, it will kill them at the midterms. They're already dead men walking.
No, the rest of the administration. Think about Bill Clinton's administration, right? Yep. You will spend the rest of your administration sopping this up. And first, I gotta just say, Kelly in the chat, maybe he can reclassify them with his mind, which is
yeah. I remember that interview. That was what, 2022,
really
where he's like, I can reclassify even if I just think about it.
I just thought about it. Reclassify. And Patrick is also believes that they're going to come out one way or the other. And I think that's right. I think that he's overplayed his hand, and to some degree, I feel like he, in 16 through 24, he found the Epstein files to be a great distractor, a great,
galvanizer.
He knew that his base was obsessed with pedophiles and Democratic pedophiles and all of this kind of stuff. And so he played it. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is great." And then he realized that he was one of them.
No, not one of. Probably the most prolific name in those files.
I mean, that's certainly what it seems like. And so, I feel like he's number one. I think it's suspicious that first of all, this whole petition, this whole legislation, all of it is just to compel him to do the thing that he already can do, right? He could have released these Epstein files whenever he wanted. That's something that could have happened, but they had to write legislation and do this whole petition to force the legislation to make him do that. And so suddenly he's like, "Oh yeah, of course I want to release them." If he had wanted to, he would have, right? Because he could have. But then there was an about face. He's turned around and he's like, "Yes, absolutely, let's do it." And then, my spidey sense, I'm like, what changed? Like, what happened here? I think he's on the ropes, personally.
I would agree. There are a couple of things that I would raise, to be more specific. Trump's perception of power is directly connected to his public perception, both of himself and how others perceive him. Right. If he takes Lauren Boebert into the PEOC, the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, beneath the White House, where, that's where Barack Obama was when they killed bin Laden. I'm talking heavy duty stuff to intimidate her, thinking that she's the weak link, which that's exactly what they thought. And it didn't work. And everybody knows it. And he's calling every Republican that he can that he thinks is going to be squishy on this. And they all say no. It is the first time that his own party gives him such a public rebuke. He can't have it. Because if there's any crack in the facade, like any other dictator of history, the floodgates open. So what does he do? He tries to act magnanimous and he goes to plan B. They have a triage situation that they're working right now, right? They started by denying that first he ran on it to get in office. Then he said it wasn't a big deal. Then they said there was, files on Bondi's desk. Then the files magically did not exist. And then the leaks started, which told us, oh, this is happening. And now that we know his name's in there and the memos and all this came out talking about redact his name, blah, blah, blah. Now he's trying to act like, hey, I'm being benevolent by giving y'all information on possibly the most elite and largest pedophile ring the United States has ever dealt with. So just put that in perspective, people. Meanwhile, this whole thing has ramifications that we will continue to talk about through this episode that has nothing to do with the Epstein files, but it has everything to do with the distractions that we're dealing with.
Couple of things. Are you about to pivot? Because
go ahead.
A couple of things. The first is that the stuff we're going to talk about, everything is Epstein now, right? Because you're right, and he is on the ropes. And when I say everything is Epstein, I mean the stuff we're going to talk about that's not Epstein at all. If you zoom out, you're like, oh yeah, this is Epstein. It's damaging, and this whole situation, his inability to control himself around young girls is putting everyone's life in danger, right? And I know, Bobby, you're going to talk about empathy later. Had we empathy when it was there was time to stop these people, we would be safer right now. And I want to, Maxine in the chat said, mention the ad. And do you mind if I just run the
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
This is because I want you in the audience to remember this is what this is actually about.
I was 14 years old.
I was 16 years old.
I was 16.
17.
14 years old. This is me.
This was me.
This is me.
When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
This is me. When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
There are about 1,000 of us.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
Wow. I mean, look, I have 2 daughters, one in college, one in high school. And let me put it this way. I do a very good job using my military bearing not to just be visibly over the top upset. The fact that there were so many people of prominence that knew what was going on and continued to let it. And they preyed upon people. You look at that video, you have every color under the rainbow.
Yes.
All of them vulnerable, in many ways defenseless, and no one did anything. As a matter of fact, one of the survivors talked about today how they went to the authorities multiple times and no one did a damn thing. It's a goddamn shame. And here's my thing. And I didn't even want to bring this up. Megyn Kelly and the comments that she made this past week. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It is. I have a 14-year-old daughter.
Yep.
I think unfathomable.
She should be deplatformed. I know she's on Sirius XM and all this. She should be deplatformed for that comment. I mean, and she said some dumb, vicious stuff in the past, trying to be the ultimate pick-me girl. But are you kidding me with that statement about 5'15", not really, da-da-da-da? There are very few things in America that we all kind of agree on. And the predator-like behavior on young girls, young kids anyway, period, but especially girls, is something that we pretty much all see eye to eye on.
Yeah.
And for her to make that statement reeks of so many issues that I don't have enough time to get into it. That is one person, if I ever saw her, we're going to have a conversation. It's going to be a misunderstanding on site, just old and new, right? Because she's used to having people, she has people on her show, if you notice, that she thinks she's smarter than. She never interviews anybody that actually is educated or thinks through.
Gonna challenge her on anything.
No. I'd light her up like a Christmas tree in December, man. I mean, come on. But
I mean, yeah. Look, it's the thing is, she's saying, like you zone out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's another way for her to blame women for their own abuse, right? Because you say, well, an 8-year-old, you can't blame her. But a 14-year-old, well, what was she doing there? Or, like she has age, she can say no. Like, no, has nothing to do. It's so repugnant to me. And people in the chat say, she has a 14, 15-year-old daughter as well. Megyn Kelly does.
Someone should send child services over there. Like straight up. I'm not even being funny. If you're willing to vocalize that on a, not just national, that clip has been around the world now.
Yeah.
Right. You're willing to vocalize that. And you have someone of the exact age that these women were victimized at. You might want to check on her. I just don't understand the rationale as someone who is a parent that has two daughters, I don't understand.
But
And here's the last. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go.
No, and the last part that I want to bring up, everybody's wondering what's going on within MAGA and certain elements of this. This has forced people, especially if they were supporters of President Trump, to really examine not just him, but themselves. And I think what you're seeing in Congress, at first, the 434 vote, whatever it was in the House, first, I'm like, yeah, okay, politically, these people know they better cover their own asses. But then I stopped and thought about it. There is no way you have damn near 500 people and over half of them agree with this. There's just no way. There's no way human beings can operate like that. So for the only reason because almost all of them have kids.
Yeah.
Right. And so, when I look at, like, say, Marjorie Taylor Greene from, my neck of the woods down here in Georgia and this, that, and the other, it's fascinating to see how something can shake them to the core. Because here's the thing that people need to remember about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, the big three that are on the right that everybody loves to talk.
Yeah.
All three of them were victims in a closed door session. And all three of them came out in tears. And all three of them, like, no. And I was like, that's interesting. That was a change, at least on this topic, because you cannot sit there and listen to these women say what they say and sit there and forget not do anything, but to provide cover
for powerful men.
Yes.
I mean, it's unthinkable. And I think that, Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke today eloquently. Not all of us are, super quick to jump on our bandwagon or anything like that.
Right.
But
right.
A broken clock is right twice a day. Nonetheless, this is an example of something that's, first of all, for sure she's running. She was mad that Trump didn't allow her to run for Senate, and she has higher aspirations. So, fine, all that's good. But this work is actually, even if it's performative, it's less performative than all of the other things she's done in her entire life.
And you put in the proper political context, Sam. That's how it is, right? Yes, it's performative to a degree, but honestly, there's a part of her that really is pissed off about this and some of the other things that she's brought up, because she's back. She would go back home to Rome, Georgia, and they would tell her. The people in that part of the state aren't going to sugarcoat a damn thing. They're going to let you know up there in Floyd County. So, those are the type of aspects you're dealing with. And again, she has kids. She has a daughter. You can't look these people in the eye. And like I said, it's one thing not to do anything, but to proactively be part of the cover-up, which is what the administration wants. That is a whole nother level of decrepit. Now, speaking of decrepit, currently, as we sit here, the Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, is being entertained in a nice fancy dinner or gala or whatever the heck they want to call it, with President Trump. Now, I don't know, for those of you who don't know, but MBS is, what we call them, for short, has been a pretty prolific violator of human rights. Okay.
Murderer.
I mean, Jamal Khashoggi, Washington Post reporter, dual citizen, United States, Saudi Arabia, chopped to pieces, literally. Right. And for that man to be able to sit in the Oval Office in a very, very, by the way, I don't know if y'all have noticed what the Oval Office looks like, but my God, it's like King Midas threw up in there. It's gaudy, right?
Yeah, it's like a movie set.
Yes.
It's like a Potemkin village of like Home Depot spray painted gold.
Yes, it's bad.
Gross.
It's really bad. Just me personally, that's just my thought. But for that man to sit there First of all, just being in office. And then and I mean this very, very clear. We're going to show this clip. Legitimate question asked by an ABC News reporter. Watch what Trump does. Sam, we got the clip?
Yep, got it.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single.
He goes on.
So,
but
a couple of things in that clip, Sam. Number one, what happened right before that was she asked the question of basically saying, hey, that man sitting next to you is accused of ordering the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, who was a dual citizen. Your own intelligence community is saying this. Are you cool with him basically being there? Which is why he said it was a insubordinate question. Now, first of all, how's it insubordinate when she don't work for you? Okay, she don't work for the White House press corps.
She's not your subordinate,
right? Number two, the founders thought so much about having press around that they put in an amendment with the Bill of Rights when they signed that into existence in 1790. So they carved out legal protection for her to ask that question. Number three, this is what kills me. This man said he basically kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he knew he was a perv. Full stop. Until that moment, he had been saying he didn't know anything about Epstein and anything about his operations.
I didn't catch
until
that. That's a good catch.
Moment. Okay, he has been adamant saying he had nothing to do with it. Da 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 blah blah blah. So if you're telling us you kicked him out for being a pervert, that means you knew. At minimum, you knew. But at maximum, that means you were a participant. And in his old age and the senility going in and out, it slipped.
Yep.
It slipped. The truth was just given to everybody with that statement. And then, I don't know if he realized what he said, but that's why he lays into the reporter even further.
Yeah.
I don't, any benefit of a doubt should have went away when that statement was made, because you don't cook, especially a man who had the money and influence that Epstein had, because that is the one thing we all know Trump respects more than anything else. You kicked him out just because? Makes no sense.
No.
Makes no sense. But you didn't catch that the first time, Sam?
No, that's funny. Yeah, I was like, oh, but I mean, the dude, it's like, you know, when you're in grade school and they're like, don't lie, because once you lie, you got to keep lying.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to remember this. You have to keep everything straight. But if you're just keeping your actual memory straight, you're fine. He doesn't care anymore.
Well, here's the other piece. His priority was to defend the man who is the largest bankroller of his personal fortune right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other things that people forget. MBS gave Jared Kushner $3 billion when they were exiting the White House the first time.
Yep.
If you don't remember, Jared Kushner and his dad had a building, was it 666 Park Avenue or whatever, that skyscraper that was way underwater, hundreds of millions of dollars underwater, right? Well, MBS came in and bailed them out, gave them the money. Now, the other thing about this that is very little reported on, but I think is huge from a military standpoint, we're going to basically sell them F-35 fighter jets. Now, for those who don't know, F-35 fighter jets are what we call fifth generation stealth fighters. They're multi-role, meaning they can do the air-to-air combat that you see in Top Gun, but they also can do strike warfare. They can do all these variety things, electronic warfare, etc. And they
Wow.
can do it with stealth capability. The world really, the F-22 and the F-35, the world really had not seen before these things were made. Unbelievable weapon, unbelievable tactical weapon of war, and it changes things strategically on the big stage. Saudi Arabia, of course, has always wanted that. And now they're about to get it. Even if you don't consider them, even if you consider them a very big ally of the United States, here's the problem. Saudi Arabia historically has been very loose with their confidentiality on certain things, to include weapons. And there are many defense analysts who believe China will get the plans to that weapon by basically raiding and stealing it from Saudi Arabia. Therefore, endangering America's national security if those weapons were to be used against America, and eliminating our advantage. From a small picture, y'all, probably people are going to be like, "Oh, okay, that's a lot of." But from someone like me, that's a huge deal, huge deal. And it's all because they want to make the money.
He wants the money, and he wants the power, and he loves tyrants, and he wants to look like a big guy, and he loves really wealthy people, and who's more wealthy than that guy. But I think if you turn your head a little bit and look at it another way, they're not buying. It's not like you go to the car lot and you buy a Volkswagen and you have the Volkswagen. The Saudi Arabia is buying the technology, right? Like once you have this in your grasp, then you have it. You know what it does.
Exactly.
You know how it's made. You know all the things about it. And what's to stop? And not that I'm sure I don't know, it's probably top secret, but I'm sure those plans and that tech is in somebody else's hands. But now we're just giving it away. It's going to Israel as well, too.
So again, people, I'm saying this, so I want you to start thinking bigger picture here. You've told the Qataris that they can come and have a base in the United States to train their pilots on F-16s, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You've given Saudi Arabia one of the most technologically advanced weapons in the world. Okay. You have done all of this just there. That's not counting what's going on with Israel, blah, blah. All of these cats in the Middle East, we are becoming their arms merchant. Meanwhile, you've turned your back on the United Kingdom. You've turned your back on Australia. You have turned your back on France. You've turned your back on NATO. You've turned your back on the closest allies the United States has ever had in its 250-year history, right? All because these people that are in the Middle East, and when I mean these people, I'm talking about the rulers of the country, are giving a huge amount of money directly to the president. They know that he is for sale and the bar tab is open. They're going to put as much money down and get as much as they can in the next 3.5 years, because they know this is a once in a lifetime opportunity they have with the person in office, because he's that transactional.
He is that transactional. And think about this, like you're 16, 17-year-old kid. Your mom is laying down the law with you, right? She's your closest ally. She's the one who's going to tell you you're being a fucking idiot, right? Sometimes you don't want to hear that. You want to roll with the kids who think who are pouring it on you. You want to roll with the friends who tell you you're doing nothing wrong, and that right, like this is where we are. Trump doesn't want to hear criticism from his allies when that's the job of an ally. Right? To
tell you when you have a booger in your nose. It's like that is the job. Right. And he does not want to hear it. So he goes to where they can lavish praise and easily manipulable. I mean, so let me ask you this question, right? Everything I'm laying out here, big picture, once again, we have weakened our oldest alliances. We are basically kowtowing to those who give us the most money. And by us, I mean him personally and indirectly. What do you guys think about the current state of international affairs? We haven't even got to the thing that I want to talk about. But right now, like I said, you have a foreign nation that can train on land and in airspace in Idaho. And I've been to the Mountain Home Air Force Base. Not cool. I literally can show you pictures. I've been there. Okay. You're talking about sharing this technology that gave us a tactical and strategic advantage in the air war with a country who has questionable human rights, with a leader that has proactively killed an American citizen, with, if you go all the way back to 9/11, where the majority of the 9/11 hijackers came from. I mean, I can go all day with this.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So tell me, the whole, I'm smarter than these other presidents. I'm not going to do anything stupid when it comes to national security, blah, blah, blah. Tell me what you guys think, because I'm telling you right now, as someone who's kind of been there and done that, this is ridiculous. And while y'all are typing that, the other piece, United Nations, passed a resolution to stand up a peacekeeping force in Gaza. President Trump was asked about it. Do you have the clip where the Palestinian reporter is there?
Let me see if I have that one.
Because you brought up the plight of
No.
Palestinians.
No,
Are you
it was
aware of relocation flights to South Africa that are
Yeah,
taking place?
it's a different one. I'll pull
it's a
that one
different
in.
clip. But here's the thing, in which he basically told the reporter the Palestinians are doing okay. They're doing all right. And I'm looking at him as he says this.
Let
You
me
got
let
it?
me let me roll it.
Yeah.
But
Where are you from?
I'm from Palestine.
Oh, you're making a lot of progress, huh? Very good. Well, they like me. The Palestinians like me. The Palestinians are doing very well, actually. I think we're working very closely with a lot of people to make everybody happy, including Israel, the Palestinians, and everybody. That's very interesting. No.
Oh,
I cannot stress to you that is not what's happening in Palestine, in Gaza. I'm sorry, in Gaza, because the Palestinians are basically, almost all of them are homeless. There's no infrastructure, been bombed to hell. And the reason the United Nations stands up a peacekeeping force is because things have become so desolate that there's no civilian authority that can actually run anything, whether they want to or not. They don't have the capability to, and they don't want another invasion force. So what you do is you provide protection and hopefully help them slowly get off their feet. Now, I can speak for this because I am one of the very, very, and I mean very few Americans that's been an actual United Nations peacekeeper. When I did it, only 30 Americans could be a UN peacekeeper worldwide out of a force of over 1 million at one time. It's something the United States has done to make sure they don't seem like they're an invasion force because we're the superior military power. So that's me in Liberia after their civil war, where they used child soldiers to kill and rape and do all sorts of unbelievable things, right? So I wore the blue beret for a year in sub-Saharan Africa, dealing with people. You had cannibalism, you had all sorts of stuff. I'm speaking from experience. If they're standing up a peacekeeping force, ladies and gentlemen, that means the shit has proverbially hit the fan. Right. And if you've noticed, since the ceasefire, you've had the various reports of different fighting and this, that, and the other, because you are dealing with a primal fight for survival. And the world does not know how to begin to go about it. But the first thing you know, you've got to stabilize that area. So, Sam, I don't know what he's talking about, but that is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous statement.
Well, let me ask you this. He doesn't, what are his briefings like? He surrounded himself with, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, he surrounded himself with sycophants, and he doesn't want to hear anything that challenges his own personal worldview. Maybe he really believes that the Gazans and the Palestinians love him.
So about his briefings, President Bush had a pretty decent regular sized PDB, presidential daily briefing, whatever. And, come in a folder and he'd go through and they'd highlight the main things. President Obama comes in and he is, a bookworm to the nth degree. So the thing got actually thicker. That thing went down from the thickness to one picture slide with Trump to now they don't even do it on a regular basis, last I heard. And if they want President Trump to react to something, they call Fox News and tell them to run a story because that's how he consumes information for the
Oh
most
my
part. So you're looking at someone who is willingly being ignorant to the world he is expected to lead. Because as president of the United States, you are the first person people go to when there's a global crisis. But what we
Yep.
have seen is a man who has created his own reality, and now he's created his own crises all over the world, which leads to the thing I want to talk about. The arrival of the USS Gerald R. Ford and the Southern Command Area of Responsibility is a game changer. Okay.
Yes.
I've hinted at this before, but this is something that speaks to a larger issue. This week, basically a white paper came out that was written by former secretaries of the Army, Air Force, Navy, and 4-star generals and admirals, a collection of them. And the whole topic is 34 pages. And they talk about the blurred line, that exactly that, how the military is being blurred into politics purposely by this administration. We have never, in the 250 years of having American military forces, seen such a concentrated effort to do this. This is deliberate. This is a Project 2025 goal. This is our version of trying to create really the SS in America. I'm not being hyperbolic with this. Those of us who have worn the uniform, we know, because we have been consistently, especially as officers, from the time you start at your commissioning source, whether it's the Service Academy or ROTC, they warn you of this, which is why these people who are retired, who have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and trust me, are doing it better than Hegseth and his crew ever could, are warning us with this. It is highly unusual for retired generals and admirals and secretaries to speak out in this way. That's how serious it is. And I want to highlight 5 things that they're saying is dangerous.
So I was going to ask, yeah.
Number 1, the domestic deployments of American military are becoming routine. That is unprecedented. The Guard by itself, the National Guard, is supposed to be deployed for natural disasters and extreme situations, i.e., the integration of Southern schools in 1953, or the Hurricane Katrina. That's what they're supposed to do. They are not supposed to be used for immigration sweeps, urban crime patrols. And they sure as hell are not supposed to be activated against their governors, who are supposed to be the ones controlling them. That's number 1. Number 2, the other thing that they're saying, senior officers being removed from their positions purely for political reasons. To this day, they cannot tell you why the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles Q. Brown, was removed, or the Chief of Naval Operations, Elisa Franchetti, was removed. You can't tell. I mean, they've given no reasons other than they were black and female, period. And then replace him with an unqualified. When I mean unqualified, he was not a 4-star, which is a requirement to become the chief of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He was not a combatant commander, which is also a requirement to become the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And to be honest, ill-prepared based on his joint qualifications to be in this role. But here he is, because Trump met him when he was a 2-star, and he said, "I'll kill for you, sir. I'll do whatever you want." They plucked him out of retirement, brushed him off, told the Congress to confirm him, and there he is. But we're talking about DEI, and black people and women are there because they didn't earn it. He didn't earn it. So that's number 2. Number 3, they targeted the JAG Corps day 1. And I said this when it happened. They went after the legal representation of implementing military force, meaning the JAGs are the ones that will say, this is legal, this is not legal. And it's so bad that now you have active duty, not retired like me, active duty military officers going and spending their own time and money talking to other legal experts, other lawyers, asking, is this legal? Can we do this?
Wow.
Oh, that broke this week. Yeah. It's
crazy.
becoming a reoccurring thing. Now, some of us knew this was kind of happening behind the scenes, But now that it's public, we can talk about it. They are looking for other legal representation to check to see if they're violating the Geneva Conventions that happened after World War I 100 years ago, because we're shooting and blowing up people without any due process, without any freaking public reasoning. We're just doing it.
Yeah. I mean,
and Congress is nowhere to be found because they're not even being briefed on it for the most part.
Look, I think there's been this big sort of push over the past couple of weeks where people are, on social media and everywhere saying there's going to be a lot of trials. We're going to have another Nuremberg, right?
Yep.
And I think that, first of all, for anyone enlisted, anyone calling shots, anyone taking orders from the top, you got to start really thinking about this.
That's exactly what they're doing, Sam. I'm telling you. And here's the thing. We talk about, Nuremberg and all that. The Department of Justice has written a memo, a classified memo, saying that these officers and everybody will be covered because they say so. That's the other part of this. They are trying to provide cover that has not been put in front of any judges, hadn't been put in front of the international court, hadn't been agreed on by the rest of the world, saying, we're good because we told you to do it. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. When these jokers are fired, hiding, acting like they never had anything to do with Trump in 3 years, they're going to be sitting there saying, hey, we wrote a memo. That's not how the world works, especially when we're talking about warfare. So you have no legal representation that you can trust, and you're a commanding officer that has weapons release authority. That's a problem. Number 4, okay, the other thing, military symbols being used in partisan events. Trump has gone to various branches of the military and tried to have political rallies with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, space guardsmen, all those people in the background as the backdrop, making it seem like the military supports them. Them people are ordered to do what they are told to do if it's legal. And then, if you notice, they get the youngest ones they can find and put up there because they don't know any better. When he did it in front of the generals and admirals, they sat there stone-faced because they know better. You'll never see, I guarantee you will never see Trump or Hegseth again in front of a group of admirals and generals again, period.
Right.
Because they know what they're going to get. They're not going to get anything. So, and then the final part is the civilians are ignoring the professional military advice of these people who've been in 30 and 40 years, which tells me that those admirals and generals, to put that in that white paper, have talked to the current active duty generals and admirals and have been told multiple times by multiple people, they're not listening to us. They're setting us up for failure. Because in America, our military reports to civilian authorities. This is one of the reasons why elections matter. But those people who told me I voted for Trump for the economy, great. Did you think about what he'd do as commander-in-chief in the military? Did you? Did you? Because right now, you have a full carrier strike group, an amphibious ready group, various other ships off the coast, and supposedly he has been briefed on land targets. Ladies and gentlemen, if we strike anything inland in Venezuela, I don't care if it's a hut on the beach, we have basically declared war on another country. And this is from a guy who said he was going to keep us out of stupid wars. This is totally him. This is totally him. In our backyard, by the way. We're not talking the Middle East. We're not talking Asia or Southeast Asia, which we're apparently abandoning. We're talking about right there in the backyard where many of us go for vacation, the Gulf of Mexico, or that whole area, the Caribbean. That will become a powder keg. All because, and people are asking me why, Epstein.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again, Epstein. You want to get Epstein off the front page? Start a war.
Start a war.
Start a war. And that's what's happening. Go ahead, Sam.
So I have so many questions, and the more that this comes in the news, I'm like, I got to talk to Bobby, man.
I mean, I've been jumping up and down about it for weeks.
Whew. So, let me first ask you, where are we in this, and how, like right now, Trump is about, to theoretically at least sign the release of the Epstein papers, and who knows how long that'll take. to get across his desk and then to actually be prepared for release and whatever he does to stall and all this, that, and the other. But he's looking for something to take that out of the news, right? How and I also understand that Marco Rubio has a bone to pick with Venezuela and has been pushing a lot of strategy down there as well. How close are we to war?
I tell people this: you do not deploy a carrier strike group unannounced or unscheduled to an area that they were not supposed to go to unless you were prepared to go kinetic. And you sure as hell don't do it when you already have, for what all intents and purposes is a mini aircraft carrier in the USS Iwo Jima, which is basically, think about it as a smaller Marine Corps carrier that has Marine Corps aircraft. Between the two of those ships, you're talking about damn near 170,000 metric tons of U.S. foreign sovereign steel. And you're talking about 100 combat aircraft in that one space. Okay. You got about 80 there and then 20, there, about 100. Okay. Now, if you are another country and you see just those two ships, never mind the 4 or 5, in this case, 6, 7, 8 escort ships that are around.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's not just an aircraft carrier, right?
No, it is a strike group. It's a modified ESG, expeditionary strike group, because you have various capabilities that can now be combined. This would be overwhelming force, right? And that's not even talking about the 2,500 Marines who are trained to go ashore in a hostile environment. Okay. If I'm that country, if I'm Maduro, if I'm anybody, and I see that, what else would I think? What else would I think? You're talking about, in a carrier strike group, you're talking about damn near 10,000 sailors, 2,500 Marines, and then in the ARG, probably another 7,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. You're talking about over 15,000 people with over, 100 aircraft. I mean, I'm just doing the math off the top of my head without knowing the actual composition of every ship, because I'm purposely trying not to, because it freaks me out.
let me just add this. These aren't people, Bobby. These are Marines, and I mean, these are some of the most highly trained military personnel on Earth. Yes. So this is more than just 15,000 people. This is a force.
This ain't just about ships either. I mean, the air wing is going to dominate the airspace, cybersecurity, intel, all of these various operations. It single-handedly changes, for lack of a better term, the diplomatic and economic picture of the entire hemisphere by them being there. You think things cost a lot now? Let's say they decide to do this strike before Christmas. Food will go up. I mean, think about it. We just cut a deal with Argentina for their beef. It ain't coming. It ain't coming, people, because it's got to go through all of that, right? This ripple effect, because of, to be completely honest, a man who needs to look tough and change the narrative of what's happening domestically, because he is terrified of these files, right? That he's willing to start a war. That is my theory. And I can't think of one that makes more sense than that. You do not commit a carrier strike group, an amphibious ready group, and all this other stuff to support it. By the way, the countries in the Caribbean and stuff have to pick a side now.
Right.
Trinidad and Tobago, all of this. You have single-handedly disrupted diplomatic relations in our own backyard because of this, right? So the reason I'm on this is because it's not just because of my background, the Navy background. Whenever you deploy forces for the United States of America, there are things that are way more effective than just bullets and armament going off. It will eventually get to us in the States some way, somehow. Either we pay for it, or God forbid, body bags start coming back, or we get sucked into a quagmire that we did not expect. Because what does Maduro have to lose if we do shoot into Venezuela? He's going to fight with everything he's got.
Of course, because what you taught me, no exit strategy, right? No off ramp.
None.
I know there's a, Maduro, we're not on Maduro's side, and that's by any means, right?
Right.
Obviously he's a tyrant. However, this isn't, Teddy Roosevelt, riding his horse into Mexico or Cuba, right?
No.
This is a totally different thing. And one of the, and I'm naive about these things, obviously, but one of the great things about the United States, and one thing that's kept us so safe, is our hemisphere. We own it. We own this side, and
No doubt.
when you fracture it, when you fracture that piece, that's it, right? We're bringing the war to our own land, our own side.
There are two. No, not only are you correct, I'll take it a step further. We as Americans very rarely have to deal with the cost of doing something in our backyard.
Yeah.
Between Canada, Mexico, Latin American countries, South America, everybody kind of historically compared to Europe and Africa and Asia, we're pretty good over here, historically compared, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. For those ships to be where they are right now cost millions of dollars a day. Okay. This is the slash and cut and reduce government. Millions of dollars a day for those ships to operate in fuel, beams, bullets, all of that stuff just to be there. When they pull into port somewhere to refuel or to get more food or what, that's millions of dollars a day because of port costs. No one thinks about that, right? The other piece of it too is the United States Congress, the ones responsible for paying that bill, still have not been briefed on what the hell is going on. Okay. The tariffs, they have no idea what's going on. Supreme Court's about to handle that. They're about to tell Congress, do your damn job, and they're going to make those tariffs go away. And it's going to be devastating. Okay. The arms sales that I mentioned with Saudi Arabia, right? Trump's like, I'm making a deal. No. The United States Senate has to say yes to that. And now they're like scrambling to figure out, oh my God, why are we doing this? Because they weren't briefed. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, is that Hegseth?
Southern Spear.
Malcolm Nance, the social content creator, former intel chief in the Navy, did some real ridiculous stuff in his time. He said the names that Hegseth keeps picking sound like something out of a gay porno. You got says Southern U.S. Operation Southern Spear, and then there's Operation Rough Rider that's in effect right now. All these other ridiculous names, and in the military we always make fun of the names of these operations, but Hegseth is taking it to another level. But I digress.
Yeah.
The issue that you're dealing with, Sam, is you have a commitment of forces, which is a commitment of money, a commitment of lives, possibly, without congressional oversight, without congressional approval. You have weapons sales that are about to take place without congressional oversight, without congressional approval. You have tariffs that have been implemented without congressional oversight, congressional approval. Again, people, read your Constitution. When I started this whole thing, we went through the Constitution and we talked about whose job is what. Congress is supposed to be the one that looks over taxes. Tariffs are a tax. That's their job. And I guarantee the Supreme Court, when they first heard the arguments last week, were killing the U.S. Solicitor General. Like, dude, this is dumb. Why are you even here? It's going to get reversed. It's going to get reversed. Totally. And then the United States House and the United States Senate have different roles, but the Senate in particular has the power to deal with foreign entities. They're the ones that approve treaties. They're the ones that stopped the United States from joining the League of Nations after World War I.
Right.
Where Wilson wanted to happen. They were like, we ain't doing it. We're not giving up any sovereignty. And therefore, the League of Nations failed and World War II happened. That's how powerful the U.S. Senate is when you're dealing with foreign stuff. And so for them not to know what's going on, for the United States military not to have a national security strategy, which is supposed to have happened weeks ago, right? For us to operate in this nebulous area where we are literally connected to the whims of a man who seems to be going in and out of dementia and senility, and is amplified by a guy who has the ultimate imposter syndrome in Pete Hegseth, this is a bad combination, because who's going to suffer? That sailor on USS Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The commanding officer of the Ford and Iwo. All of these people who are now put in uncompromising situations where if they make a mistake, a war starts. They should never be there.
No, and let me just back up just a little bit too, because we can agree that Maduro ran an election and then claimed that he won it, and by all accounts he didn't win it. That is not a reason to send an aircraft carrier.
No.
If we had any soft power left, there's no world in which there's no president in history who would have jumped to that conclusion, who would have said, I am so weak in diplomacy, in trust, in credibility, that I have to resort to guns first. Right. America has always had power to say, yes, you do that. No, you don't do that. And
every year you have elections around the world that are shams. And last I checked, we didn't send USS George Washington over there because there was a sham election. So understand, this is a deliberate thing. It's in our backyard. It is to show that you are powerful with a force that you think you will overrun. But what you don't understand, what you're not thinking about strategically, is you're looking at the nation state of Venezuela. You're not looking at these other aspects of the drug runners that you're saying you're targeting. What connections do they have in the United States if you start a war with Venezuela? Do they forego the drug war and the drug trade and then start just targeting Americans? You don't know. Why not try doing what you do with other countries and sanctions, diplomatic relations cut off, isolate them economically? We can do all sorts of things, especially in our backyard, and you can show leadership to your fellow countries in your hemisphere. But instead, you want everybody to know that, hey, I'm tough, this, that, and the other. Just like the Iran strike that did absolute jack in a lot of respects, right? You want that fear factor, and you cannot, and I mean you cannot earn it doing it this way. But again, Sam, if you use my theory that all of this is just to put Epstein on the back pages, everything makes sense. What is it? What are the people in the chat saying?
I mean, everyone is really happy with this conversation. Bobby is like a dream son-in-law. I don't. Oh, Sam is too. Thanks. Lincoln Square said it. It's like my mom saying that. Patrick has been on a roll tonight. It was really funny stuff. Anytime I like snicker, it's usually because I see something Patrick wrote. A lot of people are saying it's about oil, and I think there has been some reporting that they've talked about specifically in their signal chats and this kind of thing about about it having a lot of oil.
That area, Venezuela, Colombia, and then offshore. So people, if you look at a map of anywhere, but specifically South America, you have what's called territorial waters, which is 12 nautical miles off the coast of every waterway in the world, right? So you as a country, that is your territorial waters. If someone comes over that 12 nautical miles, they're subject to your jurisdiction, etc. But there's this other thing called the economic exclusion zone that extends to 200 nautical miles, right? The EEZ, where you have exclusive rights to the natural resources in that zone. That includes oil, fisheries, all that other kind of stuff. And what they have discovered here in the last, 10, 15 years, there are huge deposits, that go deeper than they originally thought, off Colombia, Venezuela, that area of South America. So when they talk about oil, and you literally have U.S. Navy ships now in that 200 nautical mile EEZ, if I'm another country, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? Because if we did that in the Gulf of Mexico, we'd pitch a fit. We sell that off to BP and all these other companies to make millions and billions of dollars. That's how important it is, right?
It's wildly important. I think I want to just, I know we're kind of coming up on the end here, but the Daily actually had a great episode today on China's wild. I got a question for you too from the chat. Don't let me forget that. But Chinese, the wild investment in green and renewable energy sources, right there. Right now, apparently, solar power in China, Chinese solar power, is the cheapest energy source that's ever been produced on Earth.
Yep.
And yet the United States is still going to war over oil resources. Like we are so backwards looking, right? We are investing in something that is making us wealthy today and will power our AI boom and all this, that, and the other. Everyone else is going forward into the future.
Well, that's reflective of the commander in chief, the chief executive, because he has famously said things where he's like, well, I don't care about 50 years or 60 years from now. I'll be dead. What do I care? He doesn't
Shoot.
care. He doesn't care, as opposed to Chinese culture that looks at the world in a much longer time arc, right? And so we're dealing with someone whose whole personality is driven by what he can see, what he can see, what can he see, what can he see right here, right now, right here, right now, right here, right now. Do I have the most money? Am I the coolest person in the room? Blah, blah, blah. All these ridiculous, superficial things that last a second. While even Russia thinks more strategically than we do with Putin, right?
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
it's amazing. We could easily be the cleanest energy producer on the planet if that's what we wanted to do.
Oh,
That's what we wanted to do. Easily.
I mean, that was, Biden's the Build Back Better bill was putting literally billions of dollars into manufacturing of green tech and green resources and renewable resources. And imagine if you could have, you live in Arizona, you get solar power, and you could have near free energy.
Yeah.
You could have that if you wanted.
Yes. Yes, you could. But then the corporations that sell coal, gas, and this, that, and the other lose their cachet. It's the same reason why the electric car took so long to really catch on in the United States. There was no money in it for these people. What was the question that someone asked?
I have a question that I want you to talk about what you were going to wrap with, because it's really, really good. But says, please ask Bobby if he has any advice for my son-in-law who left for the Navy today. It would be awesome. He left for basic training.
Well, first of all, thank you to your son-in-law for doing that. It's a hard time to serve. Well, it's hard anyway, period. But what's happening in the world and the uncertainty, the fact that he still said, I'll go, says a lot about him and his character. The best advice I would give him is when you hear something once, do it to the best of your ability the first time. It's that simple. If you try to negotiate what they mean, this, that, and the other, you're gonna cause yourself some trouble. And then the other thing too is you're gonna make mistakes. The whole setup, especially in boot camp, is for you to make constant mistakes. They're looking for two things: do you make mistakes with full speed and effort, and do you allow yourself to get down once you make a mistake? Can you bounce back? Boot camp, in my humble opinion, is about not just breaking away from civilian life, but it's really, especially nowadays, teaching young men and women resiliency that completely does not seem to be a thing anymore in American society. You have a lot of people, when they fail, they quit, they move on to something else. Well, in the military world, there is no something else. You got to finish the mission. You've got to figure it out. You've got to be resourceful. But most importantly, you have to make up in your mind immediately. And you can ask any vet this, you have to make up in your mind immediately that I'm going to succeed. It's just a question of how much am I going to endure and how I'm going to get it done. That is the secret sauce. Everybody asks me, why is America's military so much better than the rest of the world historically? And I wouldn't say we're better. I will say this: we're more resilient, yes, historically speaking. And number two, we empower our enlisted people, our mid-grade and senior enlisted, to run the branches of service. The officers have had the good sense to sit down and shut the hell up at the times they need to and let the enlisted do their job. At least the good ones do, in my humble opinion. And then when the officers have to step up and say something or do something, they do it. But the reason we won the Cold War, so a mentor of mine was the former chief of naval operations, Admiral C.H. Trost. And he was the admiral in charge of the United States Navy at the end of the Cold War. So he got to sit across from his counterpart of the Soviet Navy. And Trost asked him a question directly. He told me this story before he passed. He was like, I asked my counterpart in the Soviet Navy, why did we win the Cold War? All the cat and mouse games that you see in movies and all, we won. And he said, simply put, he goes, you're enlisted. He said, you're enlisted was the secret to y'all winning the Cold War, because while our people have to wait for our officers to give orders, you're enlisted, just take the initiative and do.
Wow.
That's the secret. And that goes back to the foundings of our military, but it really came into play during World War II, when the attrition rate and the death rate and all this was so high, you couldn't wait on officers. These senior enlisted did what needed to be done, and then also trained the officers. So that's the secret. So this young man who's going off to boot camp, starting out enlisted, don't let that fool you, man. That kid could be someone that can really change people's lives and make things much more effective where he's going. So it's kind of cool. So congratulations to him. You'll see him in a few weeks and he'll be a changed person. I promise you.
Amazing.
Promise you. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and Sam and I were kind of talking about this before. So I was listening and watching the Epstein victims today, and it hit me the amount of attention and support that they are finally, and I mean finally, getting after years of being silenced. People going and talking, trying to get the authorities to do something they chose not to. For them to finally get the recognition of their pain, their suffering, their journey is amazing. But it made me realize something. America, we have a problem. We live in what I'm calling basically silos of empathy. Meaning, for some stupid reason, we do not want to proactively do things to help other people unless it affects us directly. How many times have you heard someone saying, hey, I'm going to raise money to fight cancer because such and such in my family had it, or I had it, right? Or, I'm going to go and try to protect underage children because I myself was, it has to relate to us somehow directly. And it bothers me because you can see what's happening to, say, brown immigrants that are here in the United States right now. Why does it have to happen to you personally before you feel the empathy to do something for that person? Or, like I said, the abused children, or the homeless person that you pass. Unless you were homeless at one point and you now all of a sudden you have some type of empathy for them. We should not wait until something bad happens to us personally to try to prevent something bad happening to someone else. And that is what's bothering me. And it's getting worse because we're allowing politics to affect what we view as a moral and just cause and what's not. Right? When I was a kid, that was not necessarily the thing. Heck, even Ronald Reagan talked about the city on the hill that we tried to be. Bush talked about compassionate conservatism. I mean, and now it's just like, yeah, just go round them up. I don't care if they're citizens or not. Throw them in the truck, bail. Or I don't care if she was this chick at this age, who cares? That happened 20 years ago, or whatever Megyn Kelly said. It's absolutely insane. And it's costing us the soul of the nation. So I implore all of you to try to be better. Do your best to try to sympathize, and if you have to empathize, depending on what it is, with your fellow human being in your space. I'm not asking you to change the world. I'm just asking you to change how you look at your space. You'd be surprised if all of us do that, what could happen.
Yeah. Sometimes
Break out
people
the
just need
silos.
help.
Yep.
Break out of the silos. People need help because they need help, not for you.
Yep.
Because they
Yep.
do.
Yep.
Well, Bobby, that was a great way to end another long show that just flew by. I don't know how this goes so fast, man. But I
Lots
love
of
every minute
craziness.
of it. And everyone in the chat, I can't take my eyes off. It was so fun to watch what you guys say, and you're always adding to this conversation. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you to those who subscribe to Lincoln Square. We can't do this without you. And really, we do this because of you.
Yep.
So Bobby, I will see you next week.
See you guys next week. And hopefully we'll have better news, because it can always go worse, but hopefully we'll have something better. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, how about this? If something happens in Venezuela, let's go live.
Yeah, we'll go live. Definitely.
All right.
We'll have to.
We'll keep you
Okay.
posted all. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Night.